can guess which stories are true, which are false, which are legends, because those stories not all are linked to my life or our lives, but they are linked to legends, which is our next step actually. So the perfect thing is that the story is written, so it's not telling, it's reading. And I don't have my glasses with me, but I think that I can do the best, okay? So the title is Devil's Hand. Long time ago, there was a villager named Mr. Arta. He lived with his wife in a small village at the base of the rocks. They were very poor, sometimes suffered from hunger. And from time to time, this villager went to the forest. And in winter, it was important because he picked the wood not to suffer from cold and not to get frozen. One day, he went to the rocks and he was very sad and very tired. He sat down, rested his head into his hands, and just thinking.
It's about Hrubá skala and Black Night, right? So in old days, the castle was actually hidden in a deep, thick forest behind tall trees. So it reminded of a bird nest, yeah. And so the people there felt quite safe, and the king who ruled this area, he was very happy there. His name was Benesh. Benesh had a daughter. Her name was Svatava. And one morning he woke up, looked out of the window, and unfortunately he saw the Saxons, the army, coming towards his home. And the Saxons felt really comfortable, so one of them wanted to kill the Czech king, with one last stroke. But suddenly a black knight appeared, on his beautiful horse, and he ran into the last stroke. So the king was saved.
When I was a child, 10 or 9 years ago, I was a child last year. But anyway, I was very lively and we had a wonderful time with our friends. But my father, he was very strict, and he ordered me to come home every evening at 8:30. Okay, that's okay for 10 years old girl. Okay, and in Helsinki area where we lived, there was after this ice age, huge stones, big as this room. And one evening we climbed up. There was like steps up there, but when I had to go down, it was impossible. I couldn't do that.
My animal is a pig. I like pigs. I think pigs are interesting. They're interesting animals. For example, I want you to think about George Orwell, an Animal Farm. Are they fascinating animals? My grandmother grew in a village in the mountains near Madrid, and she used to tell me stories about pigs when I was a little girl. And one of my favorite stories, which I made her repeat again and again and again because I loved it. I don't know why I loved it. It was about these little piglets, and they managed to overturn a milk can, a big milk can, and they drank the fill. Okay, and the bellies got so big that when they were walking away, they were dragging the bellies on the ground. And because there were stones, some of them sharp stones, they exploded. Sorry, it's a personal anecdote. It happened to me in Cuba a few years ago. I was traveling in Cuba, and I was trying to get to the real Cuba. I was trying to avoid the tourist trails, and the beaten tracks. So I rented a Jeep, a 4x4 vehicle. and I traveled all around Cuba. And in this particular occasion, I was in the Valle de Viñales, which is near Havana on the west side. You know, but as the journey progressed, the sack was moving more vigorously. And a few sounds were coming out of it. And the man was getting worried. And he was trying sort of to sit on top of the sack, like good. And then the sack started moving more. And he started to wrestle with the sack. Until, you know, a few miles down the road, he was actually trying to smother the sack. It was like a wrestle between the man and the sack. And then he said, "Stop, stop," with a half-strangulated voice. "Stop, stop, stop the car." And all through my mind, I was thinking of the stories of pigs eating people's hair. You know? And I was thinking of the sack opening up, whatever was inside the sack, biting me. So I just stopped the car, and at that moment, a pig emerged from
It
the...
was hard work though, and very dangerous. At any moment, he could have fallen and died a painful death. It took him about 3 weeks to near the top. When he only had a few or a day's work left, a crowd of people gathered at the bottom of the top of the rock because they wanted to see him fight the vultures. And when he was just a few feet from the top, the mother vulture noticed him, and she started to attack. And at that moment, when she got closer to him, he took out the axe and he cut off her head by a single mighty stroke. Her dead body fell onto the ground in front of the people, who of course clapped and cheered. The prisoner up there set the nest with the young vultures on fire. He fastened the rope around the rock and climbed down. It was a big victory, and the prisoner, once completely forgotten, was famous, rich, celebrated.
Suddenly, to our surprise, it was getting darker and darker, and we realized that we are in the middle of nowhere, and we felt like in the story about two lost children in the woods. But if you think that we climbed the tree, we didn't climb the tree, because it was really too high. Well, actually, there wasn't high trees, but high rocks. And just my boyfriend at the time looked and said, "Oh, I can see nice cave, and we can stay overnight in a cave." I think that it was really nice beginning for the relationship to have a little bit of adventure at the beginning, and this year we are celebrating 30 years from wedding.
Okay.
And this is the end.